Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures where humanity always rises. Captain Varric sat alone in the silent command chamber of the alien exploration ship Tyrex 7. The lights were dim and flickering, and the main power core released a slow, dying hum that echoed through the empty halls. Every sound felt heavy, like the ship itself was breathing its last breaths. Varric was tired, wounded, and running out of air. His crew, his friends, were already gone. A meteor storm had hit their vessel 2 days earlier, tearing through the hull like knives made of fire. They tried repairs, but the damage was too much. Now, the ship drifted in the quiet dark, far away from any safe route or known star system. Varric stared at the communication screen, his vision blurry but his hand steady. He knew he had only one choice left. He took a deep breath and activated the emergency transmitter. This was the final signal. The last hope. A universal SOS, meant to reach anyone, anywhere, who could help. His voice trembled as he recorded the message. To any friendly ships, this is Captain Varric of the Relari Union. Our ship is destroyed. I need assistance. Please, please help. The device repeated the message in all languages stored in its system, turning it into a bright pulse that shot out into the deep void. When the message launched, Varric closed his eyes and leaned back in the chair. He hoped someone kind would hear it. Someone peaceful. Someone close. But space is wide, dangerous, and full of secrets. And sometimes, signals do not travel the way they should. At the exact moment the SOS burst out, a strange gravitational wave passed through that region of space. It twisted the path of the signal like a hand pushing a falling leaf. The SOS changed direction, sliding away from friendly borders, slipping past the safe trade routes, and escaping into the one territory no alien ever wanted to enter. It entered the region of the Deathworlders. To most alien species, Deathworlders were the nightmare stories told to children. Beings who lived on planets that were like war zones of nature. Worlds with violent storms, crushing gravity, poisonous oceans, and beasts that hunted anything that moved. Everyone believed the same thing: if a species could survive such environments, they must be monsters. Varric did not know any of this was happening. He sat quietly, watching his screens, waiting for a reply that would not come for a long time. But many light years away, on the human homeworld known as Terra 5, alarms suddenly blared across the largest communication array on the planet. A deep red warning symbol flashed as technicians jumped from their seats. Unidentified signal detected, one shouted. High energy. Unknown origin. Approaching at high speed. The message was distorted from the gravitational wave. Parts of it were broken. The language fragments sounded like cries mixed with static. And because of the damaged data, the words did not sound like a request for help. They sounded like a threat. Human analysts replayed the signal again and again. The screen showed alien symbols, glitching audio, and strange patterns. Military commanders gathered in seconds. The entire room filled with fear and focus. Is it an attack? The general asked. We don't know, replied the technician. But the energy level is high. It might be a warning from an enemy fleet. The general did not wait. Deathworlders never waited. They were quick thinkers and fast actors. Their nature taught them to survive every danger by striking first and defending strong. Send this to high command, the general ordered. Prepare the fleet. Within minutes, massive metal doors opened across the planet. Dozens of giant warships rose from underground hangars. Engines roared like thunder as battleships, dreadnoughts, and carriers lifted into the sky. Thousands of smaller fighters joined them, forming dark clouds of steel and fire. The humans believed someone was calling them out, challenging them. And Deathworlders never ignored a challenge. While the fleet prepared, far on the Tyrex 7, Captain Varric suddenly noticed something strange. A small blinking light appeared on his navigation screen. A signal, something large, was moving in his direction. He leaned closer, confused. That can't be right, he whispered. No one should be in this region. The blinking dot grew brighter and closer every second. Something was coming. Not one ship. Not two. A whole formation. Verix felt his heart beating faster. He tried adjusting the scanners, but they only showed one result: unknown vessels. Many of them. Fast. Strong. Silent. Verix swallowed hard. Please, he whispered to the dark, empty room. Let them be friendly, but deep inside, a cold fear crept into him. He sensed something powerful out there, something not like any species he had known. Something that felt ancient, dangerous, and unstoppable. And as the first human scout ship entered the edge of his radar, Captain Verix realized the truth. His SOS had reached the wrong species. And the Deathworlders were coming. The human homeworld, Terra 5, shook with movement as the Deathworlder fleet began its full activation. Across the planet, enormous metal platforms opened like giant steel flowers, revealing layers of warships hidden deep underground. These hangars were built for only one purpose: to unleash unstoppable force when the galaxy needed it, or when humans believed they were in danger. The distorted alien SOS was spreading through every military channel at high speed, confusing analysts, frightening diplomats, and exciting the admirals who had been waiting years for action. In the command tower, High Admiral Rena Hale stood before a giant holographic screen, her face calm but her eyes sharp as blades. She listened to the cracked and broken message again. The alien voice sounded like pain and fear, but the static made it feel like a warning of something bigger. Could be a trap, one officer said. Could be a cry for help, another replied. Hale raised her hand to silence them. It could be anything, she said. We do not take chances. Deploy the fleet. Her voice had the weight of authority that moved armies without question. Across Terra 5, the giant engines of the fleet ignited, shaking mountains and sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. Battleships rose like titans from fire, covering the sky in dark shadows. Citizens stopped in the streets, staring upward with awe and fear. Some whispered, "Are we going to war?" Others said, "Something must have threatened us." No human truly knew the truth yet. But the Deathworlder mindset was simple: if there was even a 1% chance of danger, they moved with 100% power. That was how they survived on a world where everything tried to kill them: storms, wildlife, climates, even the ground itself. Meanwhile, in a secret listening station orbiting Terra 5, a group of alien observers watched the fleet launch in horror. These aliens were members of the Volari Peace Union, a species with delicate bodies and peaceful culture. They had been monitoring human activity for years, always keeping a safe distance, always afraid to approach. When they saw the massive fleet rising, their antennae shook with panic. What happened? Why are Deathworlders deploying everything? One asked. Who angered them? Another cried. If humans think someone is attacking them, then, gods help us all. The Volari scrambled to analyze the signal themselves, but their technology was not strong enough to decode it fully. All they could tell was that it came from an alien ship in a distant region. They had no idea that the sender was a single dying captain named Verix. While the aliens panicked, the humans continued their organized storm. Inside the massive flagship Iron Dawn, Captain Loras Trent walked across the bridge, his boots echoing softly on the metal floor. Screens showed the fleet taking formation: 50 battleships, 20 carriers, 100 smaller cruisers, and thousands of fighter craft. It was a moving wall of human power. All ships synced, reported the navigation officer. Weapons at standby. Shields at full. Trent nodded. Good. No mistakes. We treat this signal as a possible threat until proven otherwise. The Admiral's voice came through the speakers. Captains, we move at maximum speed. Intercept location is 60,000 light seconds away. Maintain communication silence until we arrive. If this is a trap, we counter immediately. Humans did not know fear the same way other species did. They felt it, but they didn't freeze or flee, they used it like fuel. And now, that fuel was burning bright. In deep space, far from all this noise and movement, Captain Varric sat inside his broken ship, unaware of the storm approaching. His radar showed more and more dots gathering. He felt small, weak, and helpless. Meanwhile, the Deathworlder fleet completed final checks. Medical units loaded combat medics. Engineer squads boarded with heavy exosuits. AI cores activated in the heart of every ship, glowing like cold blue suns. "Fleet ready," said the communication officer. "On your command, Admiral." High Admiral Hale stared at the hologram of the alien SOS one last time. She didn't understand the message, but she felt something inside it. A tone. A vibration. A type of desperation she had heard before, when humans themselves begged for help back in their early, dark history. "We find out the truth," she said. "And if something out there thinks it can harm us, it will learn why they fear the Deathworlders." "Jump," she ordered. Space tore open as the entire fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving only silence behind. On distant alien worlds, diplomats trembled. On outlaw planets, pirates hid. On peaceful colonies, elders prayed. The galaxy knew one terrifying fact: when Deathworlders moved with this much force, somebody was about to face a storm like no other. And that storm was heading straight toward a dying alien named Captain Varric. Across the galaxy, countless alien species felt a sudden disturbance as the Deathworlder fleet jumped into hyperspace. Every major communication network lit up with emergency alerts, warnings, and confused messages from border sensors. On the peaceful world of Illyria 3, the Council of Star Nations gathered quickly inside their crystal chamber, their long robes shimmering as they stared at the glowing holomap. The map showed something terrifying. The humans, the most feared species in known space, were on the move, and not just with a small patrol, they had deployed a full war fleet. Such a move was almost unheard of. The Illyrians, gentle beings with long necks and soft luminescent skin, trembled with worry. "Who angered the Deathworlders?" one counselor whispered, voice shaking. "If they believe someone attacked them, then everything is in danger." Another counselor pointed to the moving red icons on the map. "Look, they are heading toward the outer dark." "What is there?" No one had an answer. Far away, on the desert planet Craxus, the reptilian Draken Empire watched the same data with different emotions. Unlike the peaceful Illyrians, the Draken were proud, aggressive, and always hungry for power. Their emperor sat on a throne made of polished bones as he studied the hologram. "The Deathworlders march with full strength," he hissed. "Something must have provoked them. Or someone is foolish enough to threaten them." His advisors bowed their heads. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "We must know what woke the monsters." Meanwhile, the small and fragile species known as the Corellians panicked openly. They had never forgotten the time humans accidentally landed on one of their colonies long ago. Just the presence of a human soldier caused all Corellians to hide underground for days. They feared the human body strength, the human endurance, and the human ability to survive nearly anything. When the Corellian ambassador received the alert that humans had deployed their entire fleet, he nearly fainted. "We must hide," he shouted to his people. "If humans are preparing for war, then no planet is safe." The message spread fast, reaching the distant station of the Volari, who had already seen the fleet rising from Terra 5. They connected the dots quickly. The humans were heading toward a single point in deep space, and something, or someone, was waiting there. They tried to decode the signal themselves, but their translators failed again and again. All they could hear were broken words, static, and a tone that sounded like pain. "Maybe it is a warning," one Volari scientist said. "Maybe the humans believe a new enemy is rising." But the oldest Volari scholar shook his antennae slowly. "Humans do not send their fleet unless they feel threatened. This signal, whatever it is, must have struck fear in them." The room went quiet. Even speaking about humans with that tone was rare. Meanwhile, on the wealthy star world of Helion Prime, the traders and smugglers also received fragments of the alert. Pirate leaders gathered around smoky tables as they viewed the same red fleet markers. Humans are moving fast, one pirate muttered. Something big is happening. Another pirate laughed nervously. Or someone made them angry. If so, that someone is dead already. Yet deep in the dark nebula systems, the outlaw clans, who hated humans the most, felt fear twist in their guts. They had robbed many species. They had attacked many weak planets. But none dared to attack the Deathworlders. Those who tried never returned. One outlaw captain smashed his drink on the table. Find the origin of that signal, he roared. If humans think someone is attacking them, it could lead to a galactic war. Every empire, big and small, began searching desperately for the source of the SOS. Data hubs buzzed with activity. Scientists scanned ancient star paths. Military spies searched for hidden ships. And slowly, a rumor started to spread. A whisper. A possibility. An idea that made everyone nervous. The signal came from a lone alien ship, some claimed. It might be broken, damaged, or lost. It might be a trap, others argued. Someone wants to trick humans into attacking the wrong target. But the most frightening rumor came from the Shadow Network, a secret group of informants who monitored the galaxy's dark side. Their message appeared on encrypted channels, the Deathworlder fleets heading toward a single weak ship. A dying one. The message shocked every species who read it. Why would humans deploy such power for one small ship? Why send their strongest armada? Why move with such speed? The answer terrified many. Maybe humans think that ship holds a weapon, someone said. Or maybe the alien inside that ship threatened them, another suggested. But one voice whispered something that silenced entire rooms, or maybe the ship asked for help, and humans misunderstood it. That was the scariest idea of all, because everyone knew what happened when humans misunderstood things. They reacted with overwhelming force. And far away, alone in the dark, Captain Verix had no idea that dozens of alien empires were now watching his location with fear, confusion, and growing panic. He didn't know that the galaxy was whispering his name. He didn't know that the most powerful fleet ever built was coming straight toward him. All he knew was that his radar kept filling with more and more approaching signals, and the silence of space around him was growing heavier with every passing second. Captain Verix sat in the dim command chamber of the dying Tyrex 7, trying to stay awake as the ship slowly drifted through cold and empty space. His breathing was weak, his body tired, and the silence around him felt heavier than metal. He kept staring at the radar screen, hoping for any friendly signal, any rescue ship, any sign that someone had heard his desperate SOS. But when a single glowing dot appeared at the edge of the radar, he frowned in confusion. The dot was small at first, too small to identify, but it was moving fast, very fast. Verix leaned closer, adjusting the scanners with shaky fingers. The dot was not behaving like a normal ship. It didn't drift. It didn't take slow, careful paths. It came straight toward him with sharp precision, as if it already knew exactly where he was. "That can't be right," he whispered. "Nobody travels this part of space." Yet the dot kept growing brighter. Then another dot appeared beside it. Then 3 more. Verix felt a cold pressure inside his chest as the radar filled with approaching signatures. They moved like a hunting pack, silent, fast, organized. The aliens he knew did not fly like this. Not even military fleets moved so smoothly. His fear grew with each passing second. He tried contacting them with a weak broadcast, but the communication system sputtered and crackled. His voice came out broken. No reply came back. Instead, the glowing dots accelerated. Verix swallowed hard. "Please, be friendly," he whispered to the empty room. "Please don't be hostile." His scanners beeped sharply as the first ship dropped out of hyperspace only a few million kilometers away. A giant metallic shadow flashed across his viewing screen, a sleek vessel shaped like a blade of steel. Verix froze. The ship had no alien symbols he recognized. No peaceful colors. No soft lights. Instead, it had a dark hull built for speed and power, covered with glowing panels that pulsed like the heartbeat of a war machine. He had never seen anything like it. The ship didn't broadcast any identity code or diplomatic greeting. It simply hovered, watching him silently. Varex's breathing went shallow. "Who are you?" he whispered. "What do you want?" Before he could analyze it further, two more ships appeared, one above, one below, moving into a perfect triangular formation around his crippled vessel. They locked onto him with scanning beams that made his entire ship tremble. These were not pirates. Pirates were messy, clumsy, loud. These ships were precise, efficient, controlled. More dots appeared on the radar, dozens now, all closing in. Varex felt his heart pounding as he realized these ships were not here by accident. They were coming for him. But why? He reviewed his SOS message again, checking the transmitter log. Had his message changed? Had it sent something wrong? He tried replaying the signal, but the system was too damaged. He could only listen to broken pieces of his voice mixed with static and distortion. It sounded nothing like the comm message he originally recorded. It sounded angry, sharp, almost threatening. His eyes widened with fear. Oh no, they must have misunderstood, but it was too late. The ships continued surrounding him. A bright beam of light shot from the lead vessel, scanning his ship from top to bottom. Panels on the Tyrex 7 flickered violently as if the scan was peeling away its secrets. Varex pressed himself back against his chair, his hands shaking uncontrollably. "Please, don't attack," he whispered, though he doubted they could hear him. Then the first ship moved closer, so close that Varex could see the armored plating and the glowing blue engines that burned like living fire. Its movements were smooth, powerful, almost predatory. Something about the design felt wrong. Too strong. Too durable. Too advanced. In that moment, a horrifying thought entered Varex's mind: these are Deathworlders. He remembered hearing legends, rumors spoken only in whispers. Beings who lived on planets filled with deadly storms and wild beasts. Creatures who survived impossible heat and crushing gravity. Monsters with bodies stronger than most machines. Varex had never believed the stories. He always thought they were exaggerations, fear tales told to frighten young cadets. But seeing these ships now, he understood why other species feared them. The lead ship suddenly sent out a burst of energy. The Tyrex 7 shook violently, alarms screaming through the corridors. Varex grabbed his control panel, trying to stabilize the ship, but it was too damaged. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Smoke drifted through the air. He coughed, eyes burning, as another scan hit the ship. "Stop! Please," he cried, even though he knew they couldn't hear him. His fear grew even stronger when he saw more incoming signatures, bigger ones. Huge ones. The Deathworlder fleet was arriving. He had seen pictures of battleships in the archives, but nothing prepared him for what appeared outside his viewport now. Giant warships emerged from hyperspace like metal beasts waking from sleep. Each one looked powerful enough to destroy planets. Their engines roared silently in the vacuum, sending shivers through Varex's dying vessel. He was completely surrounded, completely trapped, and completely helpless. As the largest warship moved directly toward him, blocking out the distant stars, Varex felt his throat tighten. Whatever these Deathworlders thought he was, whatever they believed his signal meant, they were coming for him with full force. And he realized with a sinking heart that the real danger was only beginning. Captain Varex sat frozen in his chair as the first Deathworlder scout ship drifted closer, its dark hull reflecting the weak light of distant stars. The ship moved with smooth, silent confidence, like a predator circling a wounded creature. Varex felt every instinct in his body scream with fear, but he forced himself to stay calm. He wanted to believe they came to help, but their approach felt nothing like rescue. The smaller Deathworlder craft positioned itself only a few hundred meters from the broken Tyrex 7, scanning it with a cold blue beam. The scan passed through the ship like a wave, making metal groan and cracked panels rattle. Sparks flickered overhead as damaged circuits struggled to survive the pressure. Varex winced with every sound, clutching the edge of his console. Please, please don't hurt me, he whispered, knowing they couldn't hear him but hoping the universe might be kind for once. The beam intensified, sending a tremor through the entire ship. Verix quickly tapped the communication screen, trying again to broadcast a peaceful message. Unknown ships, I am Captain Verix of the Relari Union. I am not hostile. I am injured. I request assistance. His voice cracked, the transmitter barely functioning. The system spat out a broken version of his words filled with static. He tried again, adjusting the frequency, but the signal kept cutting out. Finally, he stopped, knowing the message reaching the Deathworlders must sound corrupted, maybe even aggressive. And worst of all, they seemed to think he was about to attack. On the Deathworlder scout ship, advanced AI systems analyzed the garbled transmission, misreading the broken tones as energy spikes and aggressive frequencies. To the AI, the damaged alien vessel looked like it was charging a weapon. The AI flashed a warning to the fleet, alien vessel preparing unknown action. Possible threat. Back on the flagship Iron Dawn, Captain Loras Trent steadied the alert, his jaw tightening. So it begins, he muttered. Admiral Hale, the target might be hostile. The Admiral frowned. Or it might be frightened. We can't make assumptions. Keep ships at defense level 3. No firing until I give the order. But not all captains were as patient. Far behind the main formation, a smaller, more impulsive destroyer captain named Rourke watched the alien ship with suspicion. That thing is powering something, he growled. We should strike first. His officers exchanged nervous glances but didn't dare challenge him. Captain Rourke's reputation was sharp and dangerous. Meanwhile, Verix's heart pounded harder as two more Deathworlder ships closed in. Their lights scanned the broken hull, their weapons glowed faintly, ready to fire if needed. Why are they surrounding me? Verix whispered, panic rising. Why won't they respond? His life support alarms beeped weakly, reminding him that he didn't have much time left. Oxygen levels were dropping. Temperature was falling. His body ached from injuries. He needed help now, or he would die long before the Deathworlders understood his message. The scout ship suddenly released a burst of white light that filled the Tyrex 7 bridge. Verix covered his eyes as the beam passed through every surface, analyzing every molecule of his ship. His navigation screens flickered wildly, then went dark for a moment. When they returned, he saw something terrifying. The Deathworlder fleet had fully surrounded him. Battleships above. Cruisers below. Fighters circling like metallic hawks. He had never seen such a display of force in his life. He felt like a tiny insect sitting beneath the foot of a giant. The Deathworlders were not speaking. They were not sending messages. They were simply watching him, waiting, analyzing, deciding whether they should destroy him. Verix felt his stomach twist. He tried again to power up a small distress light on the hull, just a soft blue beacon to show peace. But the moment the beacon flickered on, the nearest Deathworlder ship reacted instantly. It flashed a warning signal and powered its shields, thinking the alien ship had activated a weapon. Alarms blared inside the Iron Dawn. Energy spike detected from the target, shouted a sensor officer. Captain Trent narrowed his eyes. What is it doing? Unknown, sir. Admiral Hale stepped closer. Hold position. Do not fire. Not yet. Her voice was calm, but tension filled the room. Back on Verix's ship, the beacon overheated and died instantly, plunging the ship back into darkness. Smoke rose from the panel, and Verix coughed weakly, trying to wave it away. His limbs trembled. His vision blurred. Please. I just need help, he whispered again. But the Deathworlders did not hear the fear in his voice, only the broken signal that sounded more and more like a threat. Suddenly, the scout ship launched a small probe. A metallic sphere drifted through space until it stopped only meters from the Tyrex 7. The sphere rotated, humming softly, then fired a thin laser line across Verix's hull. Not a weapon, just a cutting beam to open a path. Verix panicked, thinking they were about to invade or destroy his ship. He backed away, shaking, unable to stop the tears forming in his eyes. "I didn't mean any harm. I only wanted help," he said to no one. The Deathworlder fleet's weapons glowed brighter as captains prepared for any sudden move. The air grew tense, sharp, almost alive with danger. And somewhere in that terrible silence, both sides misunderstood each other more and more. Verix, terrified and weak, believed the Deathworlders were here to finish him. The Deathworlders, watching his damaged ship flicker unpredictably, believed he was hiding something dangerous. And as the probe finished cutting into the side of the Tyrex 7, the moment of true first contact was only seconds away, and filled with fear. The fleet moved through dark space like a storm of steel, but inside the command ship, tension grew heavy. Captain Rhea stood with her arms crossed, her eyes fixed on the shifting hologram of the alien route. Despite the calm voice she used to guide her crew, her mind carried many questions. Who sent the SOS? Why did it carry signs of war? And why did it feel wrong, like someone wanted the Deathworlders to take the blame for something? General Vorin watched the map too, his claws tapping the metal floor in slow, steady beats. He had lived through many wars, but something about this mission made him uneasy. The more data they studied, the more the truth slipped out of sight. The signal was broken in pieces, twisted in many parts, and the source kept shifting locations like it was alive. "It is moving again," an officer said, her voice shaking a little. On the screen, the origin point jumped from one part of the star cluster to another, flickering like a wounded creature trying to escape. Rhea stepped closer. "Signals do not move," she said quietly. "Someone is carrying it." The bridge fell silent. The idea was frightening. If a ship was holding the signal emitter, then that ship was trying to lead them somewhere. General Vorin growled softly. "A trap," he said. "Or a test." No one argued. A Deathworlder trap could kill armies. A test could destroy planets. They needed answers. Suddenly another system flashed red on the screen. The same SOS appeared, but this time something new was added to it, something no one expected. A second signal. A second voice. Weak, broken, but clearly different from the first. "Help," it whispered. They made us send, run, then it died, cut off by static." Rhea felt her heartbeat rise. Someone was trying to warn them. Someone who was not the creators of the first SOS. Someone afraid. "Trace it," she ordered. Officers rushed over their screens, their fingers flying. Slowly a faint line appeared on the map. The second signal came from a damaged ship drifting near a dead moon. "That is close," Vorin said. "Too close. They want us to see it." Rhea thought for a long moment. If they went there, they could save survivors and learn the truth. But it could also be bait. Maybe someone wanted them distracted while the real threat moved unseen. But leaving the survivors could cost innocent lives. Deathworlders had a strict code. They did not abandon people in danger. "Prepare a small team," she said at last. "We move in fast, silent, and ready." Vorin nodded. "I will lead them." In minutes, a strike shuttle launched from the fleet and cut through the darkness. Inside it, Vorin and his chosen soldiers checked weapons and activated armor seals. Their bodies were calm, steady, trained for any chaos that waited ahead. The damaged ship soon came into view, drifting without engines, its hull full of deep burn marks. It looked like it had survived a terrible battle. There were no lights, no movement, nothing except cold space around it. The shuttle locked onto the airlock. The door opened with a metallic cry. Foul air rushed out, heavy with smoke and decay. Vorin stepped in first, his claws clicking on the deck floor. The corridor lights were dead, but their helmets lit the way with thin beams. They found scorch marks on the walls, strange cuts, and symbols burned into metal. None of them recognized the symbols. They looked like warnings. They moved deeper until they reached the central control room. There, they stopped. A creature lay near the console, badly wounded, barely breathing. It was small, skin pale, eyes wide with terror. The moment it saw Voron's team, it tried to crawl away, shaking. "We will not harm you," Voron said, lowering his weapon. His voice was firm but gentle. The alien struggled to speak. "They made us send it," it whispered. "Not a call for help, a weapon. A signal that brings destruction. They want you to attack. They want war." The team exchanged tense looks. "Who?" Voron asked. "Who wants war?" The alien opened its mouth, but before it could speak, the entire ship shook with a sudden violent force. Explosions rang through the halls. Something had found them. Something powerful. Alarms and the shuttle screamed. Ria's voice burst through the comms. "Multiple ships are approaching your position. Unknown class. Get out now." Voron grabbed the wounded alien and turned to his team. "Move," he shouted. The corridor lights flashed red. The walls trembled. Something was trying to tear the damaged ship apart. As they ran, the alien whispered one last thing. "They are coming, the ones who used the signal, the real enemy." Before Voron could ask more, the ceiling cracked open behind them, and a dark shape crawled through the smoke, tall, armored, and terrifying. It looked at them with burning eyes. And it was not alone. The dark shape dropped from the broken ceiling with a heavy thud, metal claws scraping the floor as it landed. Its armor was like black stone, sharp and angles everywhere, and its eyes glowed with burning red light that made the hallway feel colder. Voron did not waste a single second. He pushed the wounded alien behind him and lifted his weapon. His team formed a tight line, weapons raised, helmets locking onto the creature. But the enemy moved too fast, faster than anything they had ever seen. In one heartbeat, it crossed half the room, its claws reaching forward like blades hungry for blood. Voron blocked the attack with his reinforced gauntlet, sparks flying everywhere, and then he pushed with full Deathworlder strength, sending the creature sliding back. For a brief moment, everyone froze, shocked that Voron had stopped something that powerful. Then the creature hissed, a low and terrible sound, and the ceiling above cracked again. Two more shapes dropped down, landing behind the team, trapping them inside the wrecked corridor. Voron's heart burned with anger. A trap. A perfect trap. "Protect the survivor," he shouted, voice echoing through the hall. Blaster fire exploded from the team, bright beams cutting the darkness. The creatures dodged, their bodies moving like shadows, bending in unnatural ways. A soldier on the left screamed as one creature reached him faster than the eye could follow. Voron grabbed the soldier's armor and pulled him out of the way just in time, saving his life but losing precious ground. The alien survivor shook violently, trying to hide behind broken panels, whispering, "They followed, they always follow." Voron realized the truth. These monsters were not just soldiers, they were hunters. They hunted the source of the SOS. They hunted anybody who knew the truth. And now they were hunting the Deathworlders. With a burst of strength, Voron slammed his foot into the floor, cracking the metal and forcing one creature off balance. His team used the opening to push forward. "Move to the shuttle," Voron commanded. But as they tried to retreat, the corridor behind them collapsed in a burst of fire. One of the enemy soldiers had thrown an explosive spike, sealing the escape path. Smoke filled the air, and the heat burned through armor. The shuttle alarm screamed louder through the comms. Ria's voice was sharp with panic, something rare for her. "Voron, the enemy ships are charging weapons. We will tear this place open if we have to. Get ready for extraction." Voron knew they had minutes, maybe seconds. The creatures were closing in again, stepping through the flames like demons born from fire. One lifted its claw and aimed at the wounded alien. Voron leaped forward and blocked the strike with his arm, the blades carving deep lines into his armor. Pain shot through him, but he ignored it. The survivor stared at him in shock. Why save me?" it whispered. Voron growled through clenched teeth. "Because you are not the enemy." The creatures attacked all at once. The team fought with everything they had, each move quick and desperate. The hallway turned into chaos, gunfire, sparks, metal bending, claws tearing. One soldier fell, then another. Vorin grabbed the alien survivor and threw it over his shoulder. "Go! Go!" he yelled at the remaining members. They forced their way to a side corridor, only to find it half collapsed. Smoke stung their eyes and heat made the metal glow faintly red. Above them, the structure groaned, ready to break apart. Suddenly the hull shook so violently that everyone nearly fell. A beam of bright light cut straight through the top of the ship. Rhea's voice burst through the comms again. "We are carving you an exit. Get to the upper deck now." The team scrambled upward, climbing twisted ladders, broken pipes, and shattered beams. The creatures chased them, moving on walls and ceilings like nightmarish predators. Vorin climbed last, one arm holding the alien, the other carrying his weapon. The creatures leaped at him, but he swung the rifle like a hammer, smashing one creature back down the ladder. Another lunged up, but a blast from above hit it straight in the face. Rhea shot. "Move, Vorin," she shouted from the broken opening above. The team pulled themselves through the glowing cut in the hull. The moment Vorin climbed out, carrying the survivor, Rhea reached down and helped pull him inside the rescue pod waiting above the ship. But just before the pod sealed, one last creature jumped, its claws stretching toward them. Rhea slammed her fist onto the emergency door control. Metal barriers slammed shut. The claws scraped against the door with a horrible screech before it locked fully. The pod launched upward, speeding toward the main ship. Everyone breathed hard, exhausted, shaken, and wounded. Vorin finally set the alien survivor down. It looked up at Rhea and Vorin with terrified, hopeless eyes. "You do not understand," it whispered. "If you found us, then it is already too late. They are coming for all of you. They want a war that will burn whole stars." The pod went silent. Even the air felt colder. And far in the darkness behind them, the enemy ships turned toward the Deathworlder fleet. The rescue pod raced through space like a burning arrow, heading back toward the Deathworlder command ship. Inside, the soldiers sat in silence, their armor dented, their faces tired, each breath heavy after the battle. Rhea kept her eyes on the small window, watching the enemy ships that followed them. They were dark shapes in the distance, moving without lights, almost blending into the void. Predators made for silent hunting. The alien survivor lay on the cold metal floor, trembling, trying to stay awake. Vorin crouched beside it, trying to give comfort, even though his own arm was bleeding from deep claw marks. "Who are they?" Rhea asked, her voice firm but not harsh. The alien lifted its head slowly. "They call themselves the Shroud," it whispered. "A race hidden for ages, a race that grows strong when others fall. They push wars into weak hands. They hide behind chaos. They make signals, traps, lies. They turn fear into power." Vorin felt the words like ice in his chest. A hidden empire that used other species as weapons. A force that wanted the Deathworlders in the war. "Why target us?" he asked. The alien closed its eyes with pain. "Because your kind does not submit. You fight. You survive. You ruin their plans. They want to push your fleet into a false war. They want you blamed. They want your strength scattered." Before Rhea could reply, the pod shook violently. Something hit them from outside. Impact on the left side, a soldier shouted. Rhea looked back through the window. The enemy ships were firing silent pulses, dark energy shots that barely glowed until they hit. "They want to destroy the evidence," Vorin said. "We cannot let them." Rhea nodded. "We're almost home." The command ship grew larger on the screen, its massive bow lighting up as its defense cannons activated. Bright shields formed around it, glowing like a rising sun. The Deathworlder fleet shifted positions, forming a protective wall for the incoming pod. The moment the pod entered the shield barrier, the enemy ships slowed, refusing to cross into the protected zone. They hovered at the edge, watching like wolves at the edge of a campfire. Vorin narrowed his eyes. "They study us. Every move. Rhea helped the injured alien stand and guided the soldiers out of the pod and into the medical bay. Doctors rushed forward, shocked by the survivor's terrible condition. As they worked, Rhea activated the security walls around the room. No leaks, she ordered. No reports leave this deck. Until we understand what we are dealing with. Hours passed while the alien drifted in and out of consciousness. Vorin stayed near the window, staring at the hologram of the enemy ships waiting outside the shield like a silent threat. The fleet sensors tried scanning them, but every time the scanners hit their holes, the readings came back empty, no energy signature, no identified material, nothing. Like scanning shadows. Captain Rhea entered the room again, holding a data tablet. Her expression was serious. The enemy fleet is growing, she said quietly. We count 30 ships now. They are forming a net around us. Vorin grunted. They are waiting for something. Or someone, Rhea replied. Suddenly alarms rang across the deck. The alien survivor woke with a scream. They are calling reinforcements. They know I survived. They know you saved me. Rhea ran to the window. Outside, the enemy fleet began to shift silently. More ships slipped out of the darkness, no lights, no signals, just black shadows joining the pack. They formed a circle around the Deathworlders ship, far enough not to trigger attacks, close enough to trap them. This is a siege, Vorin said. Rhea nodded. But why not attack? The alien coughed and whispered, because they do not need to. You will break yourselves. Fear. Uncertainty. Pressure. They wait for mistakes. The alien's voice grew weaker. They plan to send false signals to nearby systems. They want others to see your fleet surrounded by strange ships. They want you blamed for the coming destruction. Vorin clenched his fists. We cannot allow that. Rhea turned to the alien. Tell us everything. Help us fight them. But before the alien could speak, the lights flickered. Then a deep tone rolled through the ship. A voice from the communication bridge shouted through the speakers, Captain. We are receiving a new signal, a coded message from inside the enemy fleet. Rhea and Vorin looked at each other in shock. From the enemy? Rhea asked. No, the officer said. From someone inside their formation. The alien survivor gasped. No, that cannot be, unless, the screen activated, and a strange line of symbols appeared. The alien stared at them, its face turning pale. This message, it is from another prisoner. Someone trying to warn you, but if they can send a message, it trembled. It means they are still alive. It means the shroud has more victims. Many more. The room fell silent. Outside, the enemy fleet tightened its circle. And somewhere inside that circle, another cry for help waited. The screen flickered again, showing the strange coded symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Rhea leaned closer, her face tight with concentration. Vorin stood behind her, his claws tapping the metal rail in slow frustration. The alien survivor, weak but awake, stared at the signal with wide, fearful eyes. This message, it should not exist, it whispered. The shroud never allows prisoners to send out anything. Their ships block every signal. They watch everything. For someone to send this, they must be desperate. Rhea nodded slowly. Then we will answer. She turned to the comm officer. Can we send a reply without revealing our position? The officer shook his head nervously. Not without them detecting us instantly. Vorin crossed his arms. Then we do not reply. We find another way. The alien survivor shivered. You do not understand. That person risks death every second. If you do nothing, they will be killed. Rhea looked again at the message. The symbols repeated over and over, but then something new appeared, 3 sharp marks glowing brighter than the rest. The alien gasped. Those 3 marks, that means location, inside the Shroud fleet, but hidden between their ships. A small vessel. Maybe a stolen craft. Rhea straightened. A hidden ship in the middle of the enemy formation? Yes, the alien whispered. A ghost ship. A place where prisoners try to escape before they are moved. Voron's eyes narrowed. It might be bait. Rhea nodded. Or it might be real hope. The alien leaned back, breathing hard. Please, if they are trying to reach you, it means they know something important. Something the Shroud wants to hide. Before anyone could speak, the main alarms blasted through the ship again. The deck shook violently. Officers rushed into the room, their faces pale. Captain! The Shroud fleet is shifting again. They're closing their circle. Rhea opened the hologram map. Outside, the enemy ships were moving like a silent wave, tightening the trap. Their formation now looked like the jaws of a giant beast. Shields are stable, one officer said quickly. But communication lines are jamming again. They want us blind, Voron growled. Rhea pointed to the hologram. What about the hidden signal source? Can we track it? The officer zoomed the map. A tiny blinking dot appeared deep inside the enemy circle. There, he said. The ghost ship. Distance? Close, the officer replied. But impossible to reach without crossing their formation. Voron stepped forward, his voice firm. I can reach it. A small strike shuttle can slip through gaps. Their ships move slow. If we time it, Rhea cut him off. You just got your arm nearly torn off by those creatures. You are not going alone. Voron stared at her. Then send me with a squad. No, Rhea said. This time, I am coming with you. The room fell silent. Even the air seemed to freeze. Voron frowned deeply. Captain, you cannot risk, Rhea raised her hand. If someone out there is trying to warn us, then I need to hear the truth with my own ears. The alien survivor tried to sit up. If you go, do not fight them. Do not reveal anger. The Shroud feeds on fear. They test emotions. They watch reactions. Voron growled. They will watch me break their ships in half if I must. No, the alien whispered. That is what they want. A war. A spark. A mistake. Do not give it to them. Rhea nodded. Understood. Minutes later, the hangar roared to life. Engineers prepared a stealth shuttle, covering its surface with reflective plates to confuse enemy scanners. Inside the cockpit, Rhea and Voron strapped in while a small elite squad took position behind them. Engines ready, the pilot said quietly. Rhea took a slow breath. Launch. The shuttle slipped out of the hangar doors like a whisper, shields low, lights off, drifting into the black void. The enemy circle loomed ahead, ships positioned like sharp teeth. The pilots slowed their speed until they barely moved, allowing the ship to blend into the darkness. We must move between those two destroyers, the pilot whispered. Their sensors overlapped for only 3 seconds. Voron tightened his grip. 3 seconds is enough. The shuttle glided forward. The enemy ships were so close their hulls filled the windows, giant, shadowy, silent. Their dark armor reflected no light, like pieces of night carved into shapes. Suddenly one of them shifted slightly, turning its sharp nose toward the shuttle. Everyone held their breath. The pilot froze the engines. The shuttle drifted, dead silent. The enemy ship scanned the space slowly, its red light sweeping over the void. When the beam passed, the pilot released the breath he had been holding. Moving now. They slipped between the two massive ships, sliding through the tiny gap just as the scanners crossed again. Voron whispered, "We are inside." Ahead, the blinking dot grew brighter, the ghost ship. It floated damaged and silent, its hull cracked and burned, like it had survived a terrible escape attempt. Rhea felt her stomach tighten. "Bring us closer." No lights. No signals. As the shuttle approached, a faint light flickered inside the ghost ship. A figure moved behind a cracked window. Someone alive. Someone waiting. Someone risking everything. Rhea stood. Prepare boarding. Vorin rose beside her. Captain, something is wrong. That ship is too quiet. Rhea nodded. I know. The shuttle locked onto the ghost ship's airlock. Metal groaned. A cold mist drifted through the doorway. And inside the darkness, something moved. The hidden prisoner was not alone. The air inside the ghost ship was colder than any normal vessel, as if the walls themselves remembered pain. Rhea stepped through the cracked doorway with her weapon raised, Vorin right behind her like a silent storm ready to break. The elite squad formed a tight circle, lights flickering across broken pipes, shattered wires, and burned symbols that matched the one seen earlier on the damaged ship. Everything felt wrong. Too still. Too quiet. Rhea held up a hand, signaling the soldiers to stop. Somewhere in the darkness, metal scraped softly. A shadow shifted behind a fallen control panel. Vorin stepped forward, claws ready, but Rhea grabbed his arm. Wait, she whispered. The shadow slowly stood up. A thin figure, shaking, weak, wrapped in torn fabric and broken restraints. Its eyes glowed faintly with exhaustion. Please, don't shoot, it said. Its voice cracked as if every word hurt. Rhea lowered her weapon slightly. We received your signal. Are you the one who sent the warning? The figure nodded weakly. Yes. I tried, many times, but they always shut it down. Vorin took one step closer. Are you alone? The prisoner's face turned pale with terror. No, they left something here, something to watch, as if summoned by those words, a deep mechanical groan echoed through the ship. The floor vibrated. Dust fell from the ceiling. Rhea pointed her weapon forward. Form defense. The squad surrounded the prisoner. The lights flickered again, and for one moment, everything went black. When the lights came back, something massive stood at the far end of the corridor. A tall armored figure, taller than the creatures they had faced before, its body made of black plates and red glowing lines like veins of fire. Vorin's claws tightened on his weapon. A shroud guardian, the prisoner whimpered. They left it here to kill anyone who tried to escape. It never stops, the guardian's head tilted slightly, scanning them with cold red eyes. Rhea felt something strange. There was no sound, no breathing, only a dark pressure, as if the guardian's presence alone crushed the air around them. Suddenly it moved. Not fast, not slow, but with heavy purpose, each step shaking the ground. Back to the shuttle. Rhea ordered. The soldiers began to move, but the guardian raised an arm and unleashed a pulse of dark energy that smashed into the walls, blocking their path with flames and metal. We are trapped, one soldier said, panic rising. No, Vorin growled. We fight. Vorin charged, roaring as he slammed into the guardian. Their clash sent a shockwave through the ship. Sparks lit the corridor as Vorin fought with all his strength, claws carving lines into the armor, but the guardian barely reacted. It grabbed Vorin by the arm and threw him across the room like a rag doll. Rhea shot at its glowing joints, her blasts slicing off fragments of armor, but the guardian kept advancing. The prisoner crawled behind a console, trembling. There is only one way, destroy its core, under the chest plate. But you must strike with full force. Rhea shouted to her squad, aim for the chest. They focused fire on the guardian's chest plate. The armor cracked slightly, glowing brighter. The guardian raised both arms and slammed them into the floor, releasing another shockwave. The soldiers fell. Rhea tried to stand, but pain shot through her leg. The guardian moved toward her, its shadow covering her completely. It lifted its arm for the killing blow. Suddenly a roar filled the corridor, not the guardian's, but Vorin's. He rose from the wreckage, blood running down his face, fury burning in his eyes. Stay away from my captain. He lunged with full Deathworlder strength. His claws tore into the cracked chest plate. The guardian tried to grab him, but Vorin pressed harder, roaring as he forced his arm deeper. Now, he shouted. Rhea fired one last shot, hitting the exposed core. The Guardian froze. Then its red lights flickered. Then it collapsed like a falling mountain, shaking the entire ship. Silence followed. Heavy, broken silence. Rhea rushed to Vorin. "You're hurt." Vorin grinned weakly. "Still alive." The prisoner crawled toward them. "You must leave. More Guardians will come. They always send more." Rhea helped the prisoner up. "Then we take you with us." The team moved toward the shuttle, stepping over the fallen Guardian. The corridor shook again. The Shroud fleet outside was reacting. The trap was broken. As soon as they reached the shuttle, alarm screamed. "Captain," the pilot yelled. "The enemy ships are charging weapons. They're going to fire on us." Rhea pushed the prisoner inside. "Launch!" The shuttle blasted away from the ghost ship just as a burst of dark energy ripped the ship apart behind them. The enemy fleet shifted, closing the circle again. Rhea stared at the prisoner. "Tell us everything. Tell us how to stop them." The prisoner nodded, fear and hope mixed in its eyes. "I will. Because if you fail, the Shroud will destroy every star you know." Outside, the Shroud fleet began to move again, this time not to trap, but to attack.